Welcome today to another fabulous woman, Galia Yakimova, whom I met during a Global Woman Amsterdam networking event. Now, Galia is an author, a public speaker, and she defines herself as a life coach for inner healing and self-love. And I think we can all do with some of that. Now, today's topic is extremely relevant and current, and it is coping with chaos. So I think we also very much need to know how to cope with chaos. I've just had a very hectic weekend and bad news, and then looking at current affairs, and it's very easy to lose our own sense of balance. But before we get into the topic, I would like to ask you, dear Galia, to share a little bit about who you are and why you do what you do.
Well, firstly, thank you so much, Julie, for this opportunity. When I met you first time, I remember your smiley, beautiful face and very accommodative lady. So it really, stuck in my mind. And I do remember at that time you were promoting your book, if I do remember correctly.
No, I was editing somebody else's book, if I remember well.
Because
Yes.
that was the conversation about.
Yes.
And
Yes.
I was very impressed. And then a few months later, we met again. And here we are now today before your audience of lovely ladies. So hello, everyone. Just to let you know that I'm in your group and very soon I will actually jump one step ahead in the other decade.
Yes.
It took me a while actually to used to just with this idea of the new number I'm adding
60. But it's
into
a nice
my
round bouncy number, 60, I think. Somehow
it
I find
is.
it gets less frightening when we get closer. I will be 56 at the next one, so I'm now in that direction as well. And I've got to think, I don't know if I'll keep fabulous after 50 or I'll go for sensational after 60. So see, Galia, you will be the first. But Galia, tell us a little bit, where are you from originally?
Yes, sure. So I'm Bulgarian born, brought up in Bulgaria during the communism. So
Yes.
as we mentioned the age before that, so people will get the idea actually pretty much the time we've been brought up.
Yes.
And the experience actually behind, because this is Eastern Europe. Then I spent 20 years in UK and I landed in UK land at age 37. I was
Right.
hitting 38. And that age, usually, girls in my country are married with family and stable jobs. I
Right.
could say I had a job which I love, not the boss, but I didn't feel appreciated and paid enough.
Right.
Usually, even today, actually, the salaries and the pensions are too little
Right.
and poor people. And I thought all the time, I was thinking, despite how we've been brought up, I was thinking that I'm born for more
Right.
and I can do more. And during when I finished university, I still remember I wanted to do to work in the well-being field, and I wanted to have my holistic and spa business. And I remember I was reading about the Ayurveda clinics. I
Yes.
so wanted one for myself. But during this time in Bulgaria, it wasn't possible. And the
Yes.
communism broke down, and you can imagine that everything went down
Yeah. Yeah.
and the whole country sunk. So I thought if I go and improve my English, I might have a better job coming back to Bulgaria. Didn't happen in this way, and did not happen in Bulgaria to have my business. So it this happened that the doors were open for me in different country where I did not know much about it to start my business. And I
Right.
started my business from scratch. And that happened in UK. So I was in the well-being field for 15 years, where I was helping women to get rid of the physical pain, working
Right.
on the physical body and making them happier.
Right.
But I saw so much need to go deeper and to work on emotional level and also in the spiritual level. Because, you know, Julie, to be completely honest, and here now we're sharing with your audience, we can put the mask on.
Yes, yes.
We can make our hair look so beautiful.
Right.
Also, we can put the makeup, but
Yeah.
actually deep down in our hearts, in our souls, we are suffering.
And I think so many people listening will recognize that. I think we're champions at putting on the mask, right? Rallying and on the outside, and then we come home or we switch off the camera or whatsoever, and the pain comes back up to the surface. And I think that's one of the beautiful things also about being fabulous after 50, whether we're approaching 60 or 70 or 80, is that there comes a time when we realize that it's costing us a lot of energy to keep up that facade, and that we're not happy inside. And as you say, you know, we can do as much on the outside with the wellness, or, you know, the physical ailments and massages, etc. But it all comes from that deeper level. So Galia, thank you for sharing that. So you had a business in the wellness industry, etc., right, with spa and that sort of thing, and now you've moved it on to actually life coaching, right, to seeing
Correct.
at a deeper level what is there. And I know you wrote something, was it, I'm on a mission to create a well-being society, a universal well-being society,
Yes.
which is a beautiful way to look at it. And so the topic we chose for today is indeed coping with chaos. And God knows there's an awful lot of chaos out there. So we all have our own individual chaos, right? Issues with ourselves or with our families or with, you know, people that we're coping for. You know, lots of people are looking after elderly parents as well, let's say, or have, you know, young adult children who also have their issues. And then we have this absolutely disastrous state of the world at the moment. I mean, just last night I was watching the news and I was thinking, you know, it is just all bad, as in there's not that mixture of also good things or interesting things. It's just we're overloaded, you know, after the COVID pandemic, and now, you know, it's the war in Ukraine and this new drug that they were talking about, which has people being like zombies, you know, whether France is in riots because of the pension. You know, here we have the problem with meeting the ecological goals, and the farmers are miserable. I mean, it's just a whole society of people. It's chaos everywhere. So I'm very happy that you brought this topic up here today. I mean, how do you define this, and how do you see what you do interact with the fact that we are living in difficult times?
Well, thank you so much for bringing this, painting this beautiful picture with the words, because the picture actually, it's not beautiful, but you beautifully describe what is going on. And there are different layers actually of pretty much disaster. And it is evil we can see everywhere. And there actually the stress rise up and people confidence goes down.
Yeah.
And in the world where we as a human, we are battling with so many things, as you said, in the political stage, economically, but with our personal health. And it is not just the physical health, which is very much affected because of everything what is happening, but our emotional and the spiritual health we need to look after. And it is, I'm very pleased that we're discussing this subject today, because I can see even today the greater needs. We wouldn't share the statistics because it's really dreadful. So how many people with emotional and problems are out there in the world? And the number, it's increasing. And what is happening now, the organizations, they started, also university and schools, they started to hire people who are coaches in this field to help people to deal with the mental illness. It is not such a thing as a mental illness. It's a distraction.
It's a stress, right? It's a stress.
It's a stress. And people are not prepared. They cannot cope with this stress.
No.
And there are quite few reasons why, because people were so actually blinded, trusting the government, that the government is looking after us, which is not true. For years, it is not true. But
interesting enough, these days we have to face this reality, and people were not prepared. They are still not
and nobody
prepared.
is. And I think, even coming after the COVID pandemic, I think that really shook us to our core, because nobody knew, right? It's not, we're used to trusting that somebody knows better, and, whichever government we've elected, will go about it in the way which makes sense to us. But suddenly, I think, you said something about trust. It's that we're not even sure what to trust. We're not sure to trust what information there is out there. There's all this fake news and stuff, and it is all biased anyway. And I mean, we're talking about 50 plus. And last night I had a really bad day. I'd had a very emotional Easter weekend on one thing, and there were issues with my partner's family. And then I turned up at my work to hear that somebody that I knew well had just died at 57 of some sort of virus that she'd contracted.
I'm so sorry.
And then we were watching the news last night, and there they were talking about this new zombie drug, and I slept terribly. And I was thinking, okay, which part of that is my menopause, anxiety, night sweats, or which part of that is just, I am stressed by all of this going on around me, which I cannot control, which is beyond my influence, and I need to find a way to cope, which is why this topic, and my control. So how do we cope with that? Because it's also physical, right? What you said, it's physical, it's stress,
it's affected our physic, but what is happening firstly in the mental level, and what we see, our brain, it's just getting into, we soaking into its energy.
We absorb, right, what's going on around us.
Absolutely. This is the correct word. And then our brain started to digest this kind of food, and digesting what is happening then goes into our subconscious mind. But it is very difficult to digest certain things, as death, for example, or illness, or people losing money, houses, jobs, and so on. It's very difficult. And then what is happening? The adrenal gland started to produce more cortisol, because this hormone during the stress, it is so important, firstly, to regulate this is the physical level, our blood pressure. So, and therefore, to regulate the digestive system, also because there are three major systems in our body which are affected. Firstly, it's our brain. From there, therefore, it is all the chemistry in the body.
Right.
It is when the hormones are all over the place, the digestive system in this very moment start shutting down, and the reproductive system also, because they are so affected. The body cannot cope with the stress. So I would not go in, that.
But that makes I love what you're saying, though, but also the fact that you talked about how we digest what we're hearing. So we're not talking about food, we're talking about that. But I feel that very much myself. I have a lot of issues with my digestive system. And I keep thinking I've got to change what I'm eating, or gluten-free or lactose-free. But it might just be that there are certain things that I am not digesting.
Firstly, this digestive system, and after that, the second digestive system. And very often we are hearing, or we are saying that our heart, the second heart, it's in our tummy. And it's very true, because it is a lot of wisdom down there. And of course, if we put in our mouth, and this is another thing, we have to be very careful what we eat, especially these days, because we read, and it is true, what is happening. So they're killing the animals, and they're producing the meat in the laboratory. Awful. Then with the powder, the flour, it's coming from different insects, which is absolutely disgusting. And we eat all this food. The body, it's not happy. The body cannot digest. We don't have these enzymes, and it is very often is turning to be a poison to our body. One thing. But the other thing is, when the nerve system, because it is all chemical and autonomical reactions actually through our nerve system, and therefore, again, our digestive system, it's affected. Everything, it's like a domino effect. And because when God designed us, he designed as a one ecological system, close, pure ecological system to cope with everything we could.
Yeah.
Eating, listening, hearing.
Yeah.
But that's how we are designed. But going centuries back, the situation being completely different, and now we're overloaded. So for example, working with our laptop, we close the laptop at certain time of the day, and then we go to sleep. And if we don't switch off this laptop, this computer, what is happening? We cannot sleep. And if we don't sleep well, then the whole system actually it's not working properly.
I totally agree. And I have a huge problem with switching off that laptop up there. It turns 24/7.
Well, I've been there when I was looking after my mother, and that is happening exactly before I came back to Bulgaria, before they locked us down. And my mother had advanced Parkinson and dementia, and it was very difficult. So she needed 24 hours care. So with my father, we were sharing the duties. And in that time, my father was very stressed, and he's not, the easiest person in the world, unfortunately. And my pressure was not double, but triple. And knowing what was happening in the world, my heart was torn into the pieces, because through my soul, by my soul, I was seeing what was happening and receiving the information before even, it comes to the news. And it was terrible. So, and then I had to learn, actually, and this is, I wish to share with all the wonderful ladies who will listen and watch this podcast and video, how important it is for us to save and preserve ourselves, because woman, it's created with so many duties and responsibilities. It's not just for ourselves, but we are here for others, and the children, the family, and our parents, so on. It is too much.
And we put ourselves last, right? We're the last to look after ourselves. I mean, it really is.
Yes, and because of the story of my mom and how I was brought up, not knowing how to love myself. Even I didn't know that I did not love myself. And many issues with men I had, because there were two things in life I didn't like. And even I had stronger feelings against. One was men and another money.
Right.
I had to bear the consequences afterwards until I learned actually what I was doing. But that is coming subconsciously. I come back to this again. And that was the time I created, because of the needs, my and my mother needs, program how to love myself. And
because I mean, what I'm hearing you say then is that, all the rest, all that we've just talked about, all this external chaos as well, and then looking after everyone, if we ourselves love ourselves, then we can cope, right? Is that what you're saying? Because of course the rest we can't control. Loving ourselves is something we can control.
Yes. If we know ourselves, let's start from here. If we know ourselves, if we know who we are, what our gifts and talents are, what our call in this life is, what is our mission, to find our mission, and who is our anchor. This is, I can say, the key actually. Who is our anchor? Because how you started, people don't know who to trust. And if we don't have this relationship with our creator, I believe in God. I love our creator. I love Jesus. And if I did not have him and people around me, even the big distance, thank you internet, that the connections are still, we're able to connect, people praying with me, for me. If I did not have my trust put on him, and if I did not have the training of the life coaching, I don't think I'll make it.
Yeah, and so I mean, for the listeners out there, not everybody might have a God, or it may be a very different God. But I mean, the way I'm hearing you saying it's a connection to a higher being, something which gives sense, which puts everything into context. I mean, I'm personally a Buddhist, so I mean, it's the inner Buddha we turn to, our inner wisdom, etc. But it doesn't really matter which sort it is. Each person can find their solace, but it's to have that anchor and to then love oneself is what you're saying. So if I ask you for some tips, because we're talking about coping, right?
Yes.
With this
but
chaos.
Can I, before you ask me, can I just go back what you said? You know, it's great. You're connected with Buddha, and what Buddha teaches actually to turn inside.
Yes.
Tell me how often actually we go and we turn inside. Do we really know ourselves? How deep we go? We are so scared to go into dig because it's pain very often there, and nobody loves the pain. And because we don't know how to cope with the pain, so we rather just cover up and run forward in our lives with these bleeding internal wounds.
Beautifully
and
put.
Thinking that actually we escape this situation.
We
what
can't
about
ever
the
run
next
away
one?
from ourselves, right?
Absolutely.
To me, it's a bit like having a tree trunk where there's nothing inside. You know, then we get knocked over when we own, basically, because what you've just said is, you know, bleeding wounds, right? We all have bleeding wounds, right? Life happens. For some people, they're huge tragedies. For others, it's just having been rejected, or, you know, they're big, they're small. It doesn't really matter. It's a wound. A wound is a wound, and it's what it means to us. I mean, we all have those, but at some point we need to own them. We need to say, okay,
we need to face. We
need to face
and
them.
to accept.
Exactly.
And
I
to
agree.
accept. But,
and then we can heal. Then we can heal and forgive ourselves, forgive whatever
Thank
it
you
was.
so much for bringing. This is one of the key also. This is the main actually ingredients. Forgiveness.
Right.
And then being grateful. Buddha teaches all the rest of the gods teaching this.
Right.
You know, Jesus as well.
Yes.
Forgive and let go.
Give and let go.
Allowed the wounds to be healed. And because the wounds are spiritual and emotional, we need to honor ourselves. We need to know our emotions. And you know, it is really a clash here, because some specialists, they're saying that they're negative emotions, they're positive emotions. No, they're all emotions, they're all ours, and this is the greatest gift God actually given us. And that's how we are feeling alive. But more importantly, to learn how to deal with these emotions. So they are about the emotional plasticity, how to use them, and they do not be our enemies.
Exactly. Befriend them.
To turn them to be our friends and to help us, because when we help ourselves, we will help others. We will be able to help others, and to be grateful. All the gods actually, they are teaching us, be grateful, because when we are grateful, we provoke, we attract. It's energy, everything, it's energy around us. We attract exactly great people, grateful people around us, so we can live much better. What we need, our body need to be in balance, and this is the
so the food is also important, right? It's putting the right food and drink in our bodies,
and we to be in balance.
Okay, right. There are so many tips here, and I see you've also given me some. We've got about 5 minutes left. So, okay, I hear you already say give and let go. I heard you say allow the wounds to be healed. I heard you say, you know, own your emotions, don't hide from them. I heard you say gratitude. I heard you say balance. I heard you say also, so do also, you know, nourish your body with good stuff, right? And that probably means also information, right? Don't spend hours listening to, you know, doomsday.
Filter what comes to what goes through our ears. Filter and what our brain is digesting. When we start filtering, then it will be much easier for us. And it is, I always say, mind, body, and soul detox. And we have to do this in daily basis, daily.
So how does one do that?
Well, whoever wants to learn more, they can always, you know, contact me through you. So we are running the workshop, which is the inner healing workshop, on the 13th of May, which is Saturday. It's online. And I really wish to invite whoever actually listening, hearing, watching the video and resonates with these ladies, please contact me. You have the special rate when you actually come through, Julie. And you, in 3 hours, we're going to dive deep and to heal these wounds.
Mind,
And
body, soul detox in 3 hours. And that's
mind-
something that we can learn and then redo as often as is needed.
It's continued afterwards, but also I do one-on-one coaching on that matter. I do group coachings on that matter. I created the self-learning program, How to Love Myself, and there are 6 pillars actually, what we just mentioned. And it is the power of identity, the power of trust, the power of emotions, the power of gratitude, forgiveness.
I'll make sure I put all of that in the show notes.
Yeah.
Thank you for all the tips that you've put here, and I'll make sure we put them in the show notes as well. I will make sure all the details of your actually coaching company as well. So you coach clients one-on-one, and that you do online as well, right?
Yes, online. Yes.
Online. Thank you, Galia. Thank you very much. And
You're very welcome.
This is really resonating with me. I mean, we can't choose everything that's going on around us. I mean, we haven't chosen for this chaotic sense of the world. And the only thing that we can do is take responsibility for ourselves, right?
Thank you. Thank you. The responsibilities, it's very important, because this is what we're facing and what I'm seeing, but I believe you too. People don't want to take responsibilities
No, they don't.
for our mistakes.
Yeah, and then they walk around like victims, which makes them feel even less powerful, right? They feel that poor me and everything's happening to me, etc. And I feel I'm just a lucky person that I've never felt like that. I've always, okay, now I'm a Buddha, so I've been taught to feel grateful for my obstacles, but let's say that for a long time I didn't feel grateful, but I never let them make me feel less. And I wish I could teach that to people, because I think it's a huge gift to have. And I see very many people living very miserable lives, and on all that we're doing right is to feel good. You know, when we're happy, we make other people happy, and it's all about, you know, making the most of this wonderful gift of life that we have. And as you said, the gift of our emotions, you said that you were very grateful to our creator for emotions. It's true. And as women, we're often saying, oh, I wish I was less emotional, I mean, emotions shows us we're alive, and lucky us to be alive, right?
Absolutely.
So Galia, thank you for these words of wisdom. I will just very rapidly just zoom through, because I've got them written in front of me, the tips that you'd given. Filter the information coming in, carefully digest the thoughts in your mind, deal with the stress with meditation, prayer, exercises, detox mind, body, and soul. And I would very much recommend you to look up her workshop on the 13th of May. Choose your food. Get to know yourself better, reconnect with your inner self, know your gifts and talents, heal your inner wounds, and let the past go. If not now, I say that all the time, if not now, when are we going to let go? Learn from the past and let go.
Absolutely.
Work on yourself, your emotions, and be grateful, create a healthy life, and grow gracefully. And Galia, I'm not sure if I speak to you before you switch to your beautiful, sensational After 60. Thank you very much for being with us here today, and I hope to have you back soon. To the rest of you out there, check out these notes, check out Galia's workshop on the 13th of May. You get a special reduction if you say that it's through the Fabulous After 50 podcast and YouTube channel. And let's make these glorious years, because that we can control. All the best to all of you out there. Speak to you this time next week. Bye, Galia.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Be
Bye.
blessed. Bye-bye.